Let's be real, mind games in relationships are frustrating, confusing, and emotionally draining. But the truth is, some men will engage in these games when they feel like they can get away with it. It's not always intentional or malicious, but for some men, it's a habit, a form of self protection, or even a way to maintain control. And the reality is, certain types of women are more likely to become targets of these manipulative tactics. If you don't recognize the pattern, you might find yourself caught up in an emotional roller coaster, constantly questioning where you stand with him. Now, let's be clear, this is not about blaming women. This is about awareness. When you know the types of women that men are more likely to play mind games with, you can protect yourself, set boundaries, and demand the respect you deserve. So let's break it down to three types of women that men are most likely to manipulate. Men play mind games with women who overinvest too soon, giving too much without requiring mutual effort. When a woman meets a man she's excited about, it's natural for her to want to show him she's interested. She may go out of her way to accommodate his schedule, make herself available at all times, and put his needs above her own. She may initiate most of the conversations, plan dates, and even go the extra mile to make him feel special, hoping he will recognize her effort and reciprocate. But when a man senses that a woman is overinvesting too soon, it can actually cause him to lose respect for her. Instead of appreciating her kindness, he may start taking her for granted. Some men see this as an opportunity to test how much they can get away with. They may start making last minute plans, knowing she will always say yes. They may put in minimal effort because they see that she is already doing all the work to keep the connection alive. A man who is not emotionally mature or ready for a serious relationship may play along, keeping her emotionally attached while offering little in return. He may give just enough attention to keep her interested, but never enough to build something real. He may send mixed signals, being sweet and affectionate one day, then distant and unavailable the next. This keeps her in a constant state of confusion, wondering if she did something wrong or if she just needs to try harder to win his love. A woman who overinvests too soon may also find herself making excuses for his behavior. She may convince herself that he's just busy, stressed, or not great at communication rather than accepting the reality that he is not prioritizing her. She may lower her standards, tolerate inconsistency, and hope that if she's patient enough, he will eventually see her value. But the truth is, a man who is truly interested will not allow a woman to carry the entire relationship. He will want to pursue her, impress her, and prove himself worthy of her time and energy. A woman who knows her worth understands the importance of balance in a relationship. She gives, but she also expects to receive. She invests, but she also observes whether the man is matching her effort. She is not afraid to walk away if she sees that she is being strung along. When a man realizes that a woman values herself and won't tolerate being played, he will either step up or step aside. Men play mind games with women who seek validation from them instead of valuing themselves first. When a woman depends on a man's attention, compliments, or approval to feel good about herself, she unknowingly gives him power over her emotions. He recognizes that she craves his validation, and if he is not an emotionally mature or well-intentioned man, he may use this to his advantage. He may alternate between giving her affection and pulling away, keeping her in a cycle of chasing his approval. One moment, he may shower her with sweet words, telling her she's beautiful, special, and unlike anyone else. The next, he may become distant, cold, or unresponsive, leaving her questioning what she did wrong. This emotional roller coaster keeps her hooked because she becomes addicted to the highs and desperate to avoid the lows. A man who enjoys playing mind games may test how far he can push her. He may subtly compare her to other women to make her feel insecure. He may flirt with others in front of her just to see how she reacts. He may act indifferent when she expresses her feelings, making her work harder for his attention. The more she tries to prove her worth to him, the more he pulls away, knowing that as long as she is seeking his validation, he controls the dynamic. He may even make her feel like she is the problem, suggesting that she is too emotional, too sensitive, or overreacting when in reality is the one creating the instability. A woman who seeks external validation often tolerates behavior she shouldn't. She may ignore red flags, make excuses for mistreatment, or blame herself when he withdraws. She may feel that if she can just be more patient, more understanding, or less needy, he will finally commit to her. But the more she compromises her standards, the more he realizes that he can get away with doing the bare minimum. He knows that no matter how he treats her, she will still be there, waiting for him to choose her. Instead of being drawn to her, he may lose respect for her, seeing her as someone he can manipulate rather than someone he needs to step up for. A woman who truly values herself does not need a man to tell her she is worthy. She already knows it. She does not fall into the trap of chasing his approval because she understands that a real connection is based on mutual effort, not on one person constantly proving their worth. She does not tolerate inconsistency, mixed signals, or emotional games. When she sees a man pulling away, she does not panic or chase. She steps back and observes whether he is willing to meet her where she is. If he is not, she moves on without questioning her value. This kind of self-assurance forces a man to either rise to her level or lose her entirely. Men play mind games with women who are overly forgiving and always give them the benefit of the doubt, even when the red flags are clear. These are the women who see a man's potential instead of his actual behavior, believing that with enough love, patience, and understanding, he will eventually change. She convinces herself that his inconsistency, lack of communication, or emotional distance is temporary, something he's going through rather than a pattern of who he really is. This type of woman does not like conflict, so when he disrespects her, ignores her, or plays with her emotions, she rationalizes his behavior instead of holding him accountable. A man who enjoys mind games recognizes this trait quickly. He knows that no matter what he does, she will always find a reason to excuse it. If he disappears for days and then comes back with the weak excuse, she will tell herself that he was just stressed or needed space. If he flirts with other women, she will convince herself that he didn't mean anything by it. If he invalidates her feelings or makes her feel like she's overreacting, she will start questioning herself instead of seeing the truth. This allows him to manipulate her without facing any real consequences. He doesn't have to be consistent, honest, or emotionally available because he knows she will always forgive him, no matter how many times he disappoints her. She believes that if she just loves him harder, he will eventually appreciate her. She is willing to wait for him to see her worth, to realize that she is the one who truly cares for him. She invests more and more into the relationship, hoping that her patience will pay off, but instead of making him step up, it only enables his behavior. He realizes that he does not have to put in any real effort to keep her. He can disappear and come back, break promises, or play hot and cold, and she will still be there, ready to welcome him back with open arms. The more she allows, the less he respects her. He starts to see how much control he has over her emotions. If he gives her just enough attention after pulling away, she will feel relieved and grateful instead of demanding consistency. If he apologizes without changing his actions, she will accept it because she wants to believe in the man he could be rather than the man he is showing himself to be. This keeps her stuck in a cycle where she tolerates behavior she should walk away from, hoping that one day he will finally love her the way she loves him. A woman who is not afraid to lose a man who plays mind games will never be manipulated. She does not accept excuses in place of actions. If a man is inconsistent, she does not sit around wondering when he will change. She walks away. She understands that love is not about proving her loyalty to someone who refuses to step up. She does not mean to be endlessly forgiving when the behavior does not change. Instead, she holds her standards high and only allows a man into her life who is willing to meet them. Men play mind games with women who are afraid to be alone. These are the women who stay in unhealthy relationships because they fear the idea of starting over or being by themselves. Instead of prioritizing their emotional well-being, they cling to men who do not truly value them, hoping that if they stay patient, things will eventually get better. They tolerate inconsistent behavior, emotional unavailability, and broken promises because the thought of being single feels worse than accepting less than they deserve. A man who plays mind games can sense this fear. He knows that no matter how he treats her, she will find a reason to stay. He will test her boundaries by disappearing for days, canceling plans last minute, or failing to communicate properly. He will see how much she is willing to tolerate before she pushes back. If she continues to accept his behavior, he realizes that he has full control over the situation. He does not need to change because she will not leave. Instead, he gives her just enough attention to keep her hooked. He might send a sweet text after ignoring her for days, make vague promises about the future, or show affection when he senses she is pulling away. These small gestures keep her hopeful, convincing her that the relationship is worth fighting for. Her fear of being alone makes her rationalize his behavior. She tells herself that every relationship has ups and downs, that no man is perfect, and that as long as he is still around, there is a chance things will improve. She convinces herself that the problems are temporary and that if she just stays patient and understanding, he will eventually commit to her the way she desires. But instead of getting better, the cycle continues. He pulls away, she gets anxious, and as soon as she starts to question things, he gives her just enough attention to make her stay. She finds herself constantly overanalyzing his actions, trying to figure out what she did wrong or what she can do differently to make him more consistent. She ignores her gut instincts, which tell her that he is not as invested as she is. She suppresses her emotions, afraid that expressing her needs will push him away. She becomes so focused on keeping him that she loses sight of what she actually deserves. She starts settling for the bare minimum, accepting breadcrumbs instead of real effort. A man who respects a woman will never play with her emotions or make her question where she stands. He will show up consistently, communicate clearly, and make her feel valued without making her beg for his attention. The key to avoiding these mind games is learning to embrace solitude instead of fearing it. When a woman understands that being alone is better than being in the wrong relationship, she stops tolerating behavior that drains her. She becomes confident in walking away when a man does not meet her standards. She knows her worth and refuses to settle for anything less than genuine love and commitment. Men play mind games with women who are overly forgiving and always give second chances. These are the women who see the best in people, believe in personal growth, and think that if they just love a man enough, he will eventually change. They tell themselves that nobody is perfect, that relationships require patience, and that mistakes happen. Instead of walking away when they are disrespected or treated unfairly, they choose to forgive, hoping that their kindness will inspire a man to do better. A man who plays mind games quickly recognizes this trait and takes full advantage of it. He knows that no matter what he does, whether he ignores her calls, flirts with other women, or disappears when she needs him, she will always take him back. He does not fear losing her because she has shown him time and time again that she is willing to overlook his behavior. He learns that as long as he apologizes and says the right words, she will convince herself that he deserves another chance. Over time, this creates an unhealthy cycle where he continues to push boundaries, knowing that there are no real consequences. At first, his mistakes might seem small, forgetting to text back, canceling plans last minute, or being emotionally distant. But as he realizes that she is willing to tolerate more, his behavior escalates. He becomes inconsistent, makes promises he has no intention of keeping, and only shows up when it benefits him. She becomes emotionally exhausted, constantly waiting for him to change while he remains the same. The more she forgives, the less he respects her. Instead of seeing her kindness as a reason to do better, he sees it as permission to continue his games. He knows that she values the relationship more than he does, and that gives him all the control. If she ever tries to hold him accountable, he will manipulate her emotions, playing the victim, saying he didn't mean to hurt her, or making her feel guilty for questioning his actions. She begins to doubt herself, wondering if she is asking for too much or being too demanding. She starts making excuses for him, telling herself that he has been through a lot, that he just needs time, or that deep down he really does care. She convinces herself that if she just remains patient, he will eventually appreciate her loyalty and love her the way she deserves. But the truth is, a man who takes a woman for granted will not suddenly wake up and realize her worth. If he knows that she will always be there no matter what, he has no reason to change. A man who truly cares about a woman will not put her in a position where she constantly has to forgive the same mistakes. He will value her trust and make an effort to be better. The key to breaking this cycle is understanding that forgiveness should not be given at the expense of self-respect. A woman who knows her worth does not allow repeated disrespect in the name of love. She understands that real love does not require endless chances, and she is willing to walk away when a man continues to take her kindness for granted. Men play mind games with women who lack confidence in themselves and their worth. These are the women who constantly seek validation, second guess their own value, and believe they have to prove themselves to be loved. They might appear strong on the outside, but deep down they question whether they are truly enough. When a man senses this insecurity, he sees an opportunity to manipulate, knowing that she will prioritize his approval over her own needs. A woman who doubts herself will tolerate behavior she shouldn't because she is afraid of being alone or rejected. She convinces herself that if she just tries harder, gives more, or becomes who he wants her to be, then he will finally love her the way she desires. This mindset makes her easy to manipulate because she becomes dependent on his attention and affection to feel good about herself. A man who plays games will take advantage of this, giving just enough to keep her hoping while keeping her off balance so she never feels secure in the relationship. He will alternate between showing interest and pulling away, making her feel like she is the problem when things go wrong. When he is affectionate and attentive, she feels on top of the world, but when he withdraws, she spirals, wondering what she did wrong. He knows that by keeping her emotionally unstable, she will work harder to please him, thinking that if she can just get things right, he will finally commit to her fully. The truth is, he enjoys the power he has over her emotions, and as long as she continues to seek his validation, he has no reason to stop playing games. She may find herself constantly adjusting her behavior to fit what she thinks he wants. If he criticizes something about her, she immediately tries to change it, believing that fixing herself will make him stay. If he gives her mixed signals, she ignores the red flags and focuses only on the moments when he is kind, holding on to the hope that he will eventually choose her completely. She becomes trapped in a cycle of trying to prove her worth instead of realizing that she was always enough from the start. A confident woman does not play these games because she does not base her self-worth on whether or not a man chooses her. She knows that a real connection does not require chasing, convincing, or constant worry. She trusts herself enough to walk away from anything that feels inconsistent or unhealthy. When a man realizes that a woman does not need his approval to feel valuable, he either steps up and treats her right or he walks away, knowing that he cannot manipulate her emotion. The key to breaking free from this dynamic is to build confidence from within. A woman who knows her worth does not tolerate being strung along, and she does not allow a man's attention or lack of it to define how she sees herself. She understands that love is not about proving anything, it is about mutual respect, trust, and consistency. A man who truly values a woman will not put her in a position where she has to question her importance in his life. At the end of the day, men will play mind games with women who allow it. But when you know your worth, when you recognize the signs, and when you have the confidence to walk away from situations that don't serve you, you take your power back. A man who is serious about you won't leave you guessing. He won't make you question his intentions. He won't play games. He will show up, be consistent, and make it clear that he values you.